Woo, we're live. Hey, everybody. What a day. What a morning. There's a lot going on here at Shark headquarters. Hope everybody can hear me. Are we live? Let's see. Aloha, Cameron. I see people are starting to trickle in. I'm just going to do a quick screen share of some stuff in the group and probably go through the questions and comments and chat that way. Hey, Chantel. Nice to see you here. Ron, how you doing? David Strother, where can I find the contact form plugin? Tom narrates the video. So David, I think you're talking about the local fee finder plugin. And if you go to the Offline Shark shop, you should be able to find that. I'll put the link in the comments right now. So this is going to be just a general ask me anything type live. If you have any questions, whatever you're working on, think about that and let me know in the comments below. I'm going to also go through some things that I've seen in the Facebook group that I want to give some shout outs on, some great questions that I want to answer, some topics for discussion that I thought were interesting. But feel free to help get some other questions answered while we're here. These lives are a chance for you guys to kind of interact with both Tom and I and get as much information as you can from us. And we want to try to over deliver and give you any kind of access to us on what we're doing within our businesses and help you out as much as possible, because we got an awesome new year that we're ringing in right now. Everybody should be very motivated to hit the ground running and having some new customers come through your business and, continue to scale and grow and increase revenue. I know I certainly am. I've been really hit with that, that New Year resolution entrepreneur type bug where it's hard for me to even think about anything else outside of building my business. Like, it's crazy. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, paid traffic. I need to run some paid traffic. Let me know if you suffer from that, because that's how you know you're onto something. So let's see here. Real quick, we'll get into some shout outs. One second, bear with me here. Okay, so real quick shout out to Verduct. He came into the Shark Alliance probably, a week ago, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. A week ago. And, I've just noticed that he's been really kind of taking action consistently. He's on level 2. He's been asking a lot of questions in the group, but just kind of keeping the momentum going. And I think that's important for, being in a brand new year, fresh start. And he's already working on building his website. So keep up the good work. I know a lot of people, one thing that they can really get caught up with is even installing and building a website for themselves. It actually took me a really long time to do that for myself. I probably had 2 or 3 clients before I set up my own website, but it was because I didn't really know how to set up a website. I wasn't too familiar with it yet at the time. So the strong benefit that you guys have is you have access to something like the theme that we give you that allows you to set up a site within just a few minutes, right? And anyone who's listening in and you're not in the Shark Alliance, I mean, I'd be willing to bet if you've been following our group for any length of time that you have access to one of our awesome themes that you could be using for yourself. So at the very least, you should definitely set one of those up for you, and you will have an awesome looking website, and you can really leverage that for your credibility, because when you can set up a website and have some place to direct people to and say, hey, this is my website, you can get your business card set up, you can do all those sorts of things, get a little marketing going for you. That's definitely going to help and boost your confidence if you're just getting started, or if you don't have any credibility whatsoever, then that will help with that. And another little hack that I've seen people do is just to get their skills brought up to speed when it comes to setting up these websites is they create multiple sites, and not for paying customers that they already have, but just to like get the experience, but also to build their portfolio. So there's from time to time questions that come into our groups and our support desk about people saying like, well, how do I get clients if I don't have a portfolio? Like, people want to see my work, but I don't have any customers yet. I'm just getting started. Well, that's something you can do. You can very quickly set up a website for a specific industry using any one of our softwares or our themes. So let's say you have like Website Profit Monster or any of our themes. You can create a site all around the roofing industry. You can create a site all around the electricians in your area, right? And although those don't really belong to anybody, you're just kind of practicing. You can add those as portfolio pieces to your website. You could even potentially sell them at a later date. So, not only are you getting a chance to learn on how to build these types of websites, but you're also building something that you could potentially sell at a later date. So it's kind of a 2-in-1. And I see that a lot of people are rolling in now. Some of the notifications in emails must have just went out. So let me know in the comments if you had a awesome holiday, or both holidays. If you had a great New Year. I see Ron is here, and Ron, I've heard that in the Philippines, the New Year celebration is crazy. Let me know if I'm correct with that one. Ron says you can clone the website Profit Monster and have your own templates too. That's a great idea. You can. It's so easy to manipulate, right? You can create as many of these templates as you want and stamp them out for different customers or clients. Hey, look who it is.
I'm here.
It's my long lost friend.
Yeah, sorry about that. For some reason I had it in my head because we've been doing them at noon, and so I was just thinking, oh, it's noon, so I had to run to the bank to deal with something for us. And Nick texted me. I was like, oh crap. But I'm back home now.
No worries. We're just doing some some shout outs. Ron was talking about how he's his New Year's party and tons of fireworks and karaoke.
Oh yeah, my God, it was nuts here on Maui.
Yeah,
I saw a video from like across the water of Kihei, and it looked like the biggest fireworks show you've ever seen.
Yeah, that spot like across from the hospital where you have that lookout.
Yeah,
that's the one, right?
I think this one may have been from the scenic lookout, like as you're going to Lahaina.
Oh, okay. Well, I think somebody has really been doing an incredible job bringing in illegal fireworks to Maui over the last couple of years. I think like the last 2 or 3 years, I have noticed an insane amount of like those crazy aerial fireworks, because we didn't get those for a long time. Like we had snakes and sparklers forever, right?
Yeah.
And now we have we have like a cavalry every year.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, and this year the Maui police said we're cracking down on illegal fireworks, extra police out, and then Miranda was showing me the thing about how they only had like maybe 5 incidents, like, and all those fireworks going off, like they couldn't really do anything about it.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The
dogs love it.
Your dog?
The dogs love it. Patches is good around fireworks, but my mom, she has to stay home and just like keep her dogs calm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a couple more shout outs. Hey, look, Ron, I wanted to give you a shout out. Ron just wrote an ebook. How awesome is that? So, we're actually working on a book ourselves, and we know that it can be quite the process, Ron. So I just wanted to, congratulate you, because that's definitely a milestone, And I mean, ebooks, like websites, really help to lend to your credibility. I mean, you can do so much with an ebook, give it away as an opt-in, as a lead magnet, and that's what you're doing, right? You're giving it away to help educate your customers, which I think is a great way to position it. So, congratulations, man. I know it's probably taking you some time to do that.
Yeah, Ron sent that to me, and I'm going to go through it because I'm really interested in it. I haven't had a chance yet, Ron, but I'll go through it and get back to you.
Yeah. Did you write all of it yourself, Ron, or did you have some help writing it? Looks like you got some great engagement from the group, which is always nice to see. I've been really, really impressed by the engagement we've had in the group. I mean, we've just hit 7,000 members, and I've been noticing just a crazy amount of people that have been like helping each other out. I mean, for a long time, it was really, Tom and I just kind of in there answering every single thing we possibly could. It took a lot of time that we've, really invested and spent to kind of get the momentum going. But now, I mean, I'm rarely ever the first person to comment on a post, even if it's like written for me and I'm tagged in it. Like, there's already 10 people there, which is super, super cool. So let's see. I got another shout out for Dave Castle, who is just got his website up. Another website that, like I said, a lot of people, they really stall on building their website. So whenever I can see it, I think that's it's definitely something to congratulate you on. So good job, Dave. I know you got the local fee finder plugin on there as well. I can't stress enough how powerful that plugin can be to help you find out information on your customers, and of course, like, charge higher fees. That's the biggest thing, is you get to charge so much more for your products and services once you figure out what people are really willing to pay.
Yeah, that thing's everybody says it, but that thing really is a game changer. It's
funny because, like, I have 2 leads that I need to follow up with that I've written down on my, and I've kind of stalled on calling them because they only have a $2,500 budget. And it's funny because I was starting the live and I actually got a call from one of them that is like just chomping at the bit to get some work done for them. And I'm gonna follow up with them after the live, but like, if I didn't know what their budget was, I would be like hard pressed to make that sale. And I still should be, granted, but I'm just saying that, like, having that information is so helpful. If someone's only willing to pay $500 and you have, 6 other leads that are willing to pay $3,000, which ones are you going to prioritize? Which ones are you going to follow up with first? Which one are you going to spend more time doing research on before you actually make the call to close the deal? And if you didn't have that information, you'd probably spend just as the same amount of time on each one of them, which isn't the most optimal way of spending your time. I mean, if you have that information, then you can really focus on the ones that have the biggest return. So excellent job, Dave. Keep us posted about how you find your success with that fee finder plugin. the first time you get your first client that says that they have like a $3,000 to $5,000 budget, you're gonna show us some love. I can guarantee it.
What is the deal with that one? Look at that one group on the side that's got a picture of somebody's rear end. Agency scaling secrets. What?
I get hit with that ad so much. Don't join that group. If you're on the call, do not join that group.
Oh, but like, what? Why that picture? Maybe people talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, did you by chance mention what we have rolling out with the badges and things like that?
No, I didn't get to that. You wanna? I think I have one more shout out, and then you can. Oh no, that was it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So one of the things that Nick and I saw when we were at our mastermind in San Diego and thought was a great idea was a way for you guys to really be able to share your successes. Like, we like that, right? What you have going on. So we had somebody develop some badges that we're going to give you guys access to. There's things like, I got my first client, my first website, those types of deals, different milestones and things that you would want to celebrate. And so whenever you hit one of those things, we'd like for you guys to go in, grab one of the badges and post it in your post, right? That way we can all kind of celebrate together. And you'll probably get a direct message from somebody on our team if you post something that we have a badge for or that's badge worthy. You'll probably get a direct message from somebody on our team saying, hey, we have a badge for that. Would you post that in the Facebook group? So I think it's a great way to get you guys recognition and really like show people like, hey, take action, put some effort in, like this stuff works, right? So keep an eye out for that. I know Cameron is getting all that stuff set up and situated for you guys and where you'll access those badges and things like that. So we're super excited about that. Inside our Shark Alliance monthly membership, we have the levels and people post badges when they do the levels. And that really has been just a great way to talk about what's going on and celebrate and see what's working and all that stuff. So I think this will be really good inside the main group as well. So we'd appreciate your help in doing those things, looking for badges and posting them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The other thing is it'll give you a reason to talk about what you're working on. And anytime you can do that in that group, like you're going to get feedback from people that have gone through that experience or have information to help you, maybe some way to save you on some of the pitfalls on, whatever kind of client you're trying to fulfill right now. So you never know what could come out of, just sharing in your success. I know there are a lot of people in our community that like, they're kind of like, I'm kind of this way. I'm kind of guilty of this. Like, I just get stuff done and I'm on a mission, and it's hard for me to like be like share in my successes sometimes, like there are so many things that are going on that I just like, I don't tell anybody about, and I try to make much more of an effort to share that, within the group, especially lately, even some of the losses, right? Like I had a client leave me, actually I got the final word yesterday. They left. SEO client. And, I wanted to share that with the group because I think a lot of people can get a lot of information out of that, right? Like, why did they leave? What could I have done better? Does anybody else out there have any information that could help me to perhaps have kept that client for a longer period of time? Or what was I doing wrong? Sometimes when you're so close to something, you just need another set of eyes to give you a different perspective, because when you're that close, sometimes you can't see it, So try to make an effort to post those badges. I think you'll be surprised at how helpful it might be to just kind of share with your comrades.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Verduct, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I actually gave you a shout out about 5 minutes ago because Verduct he's in the Shark Alliance and he's been just boom, 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 taking the levels one after another. So congratulations, man. It's great to see you on this live and continue to keep up the good work.
Yeah, one level at a time. I think that should be our motto in there, Nick. One level at a time.
Ron says add a birthday badge. His birthday's in February. You're coming up, Ron.
I took a glance at the table of contents of that book while we were on here, and it looks really good, Ron. I like the graphics. The way it's set up looks awesome.
So Jeff's talking about the local viewfinder plugin again. And yeah, that's been our experience too. So when people, for those of you that don't know what local viewfinder is or does, it's this plugin that we created where you can put these, here, I'll share my screen. I'll show it to you guys.
It preloads like discovery forms that you would need for your agency, right? Like client, like when you need more information on a project, like whether it's website design or a direct mail thing or PPC or social media. It's got a bunch of preloaded setup things that you can just add to your site. So when you get a client and somebody's interested, the first thing you do is you send them to fill out that form, right? It gives you the information that you need. And, in the past, Nick and I were doing that all by hand, right? So like we would do it at the client meeting, and it was an issue because like there's a lot of information clients are willing to share, but there's a lot of information that they don't want to share, like budget and things like that. And the form gives you a really no pressure way to get that information from them.
Yeah, the plugin, it deploys these forms for you just like that. And it really, really helps us in our sales process. You can see this is my agency website.
Looking good, by the way. I see your Forbes things added on there. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Important. So it doesn't matter, whatever type of lead I get, like website, SEO, social media, I always send them to my discovery forms. That's the initial point of entry into our business because it pre-qualifies exactly what Jeff is talking about. That's the very first thing that it does, because a lot of people, they'll send us an email or a phone call, and what they're really doing is just shopping around. Like they're trying to get price points, and they're trying to figure out who's going to give them the cheapest price. And I think it's Tom's experience too, those aren't always the best clients. I mean, those are usually the worst clients, the ones that want the most deal, the biggest deal, because they're really trying to make, like, let's say you give them a website for $100. That's crazy. But what they're trying to do is make that $100 go as far as they possibly can. So, and we were talking to Chantel about this the other day, right? The 80-20 rule, like 20% of the customers take up most of your time. And, it's usually the 20% of the least paying customers, right? Like the ones that don't even pay you that much money. So we take this initial step, asking people to go to our website and fill out the website discovery form. And that just gives us more information about your project. That way we can take a look and give you a price quote. That you'll find, 40 to 50% of people won't even go to the website to fill that out. And it's just because they're not really that invested in finding somebody to do this product for them. They're just kind of kicking tires, right? They're shopping around, trying to find somebody who's going to give them the cheapest deal. And those aren't the customers that I have time to invest in. And, most people, if they do fill out the form and they have the time to do it and they're interested in doing it, those are the ones that are usually much more likely to spend money. They're ready to actually take action and give you, the assets you'd need to create ads for them or build a website for them. Like for anybody that's done marketing for somebody before, which is basically all of you, right? That there is a portion of getting started where you rely on your customers to give you information about their business. Like they have to tell you about their products and services at some point, right? And if they're not willing to do it like right out of the gate, then what does that tell you about working with these guys for like a long period of time? Like it might be an uphill battle the entire time, right?
Yeah, we talk a lot about looking for those red flags, like sometimes in the beginning, like we're so eager to get a client and get the money coming in that we tend to overlook things that are signs that they may not be the best person to work with. And, that plugin is just one way to kind of identify those things, make sure they're people want to work with. And just like Nick was talking about earlier, like, a lot of that process for us was born out of frustration, right? Because a client would come in and we had to kind of treat everybody the same. And then we were spending time meeting with them, trying to get information, and then putting together proposals. And like you send out a proposal and then everybody goes dark. And it was just like we were just spending way too much time on clients that weren't panning out, right? And so much better to try to get an idea of who's going to be, who's ready to get going now, who's, just like Nick said, the fact that that client is calling him again, that's a good sign, right? They want to get going. They're motivated. Like those are the kind of people you want to talk to, even if they're not like your highest paying client. That might be, you probably have a better chance of succeeding with them versus somebody else,
Yeah. Ron says that he loves the interaction with Zachary Smoose, who's also on the call. How's it going, Zach? Hey, being busy with a client, Zach, that's not a bad thing.
That's good.
I can remember a time when you didn't have a client, so good work.
Yep.
Terry's asking for the link to the plugin. We got that. I just saw that Cameron put that in the chat. There it is. And then Terry said that he used to give the 20% of his most valuable customers 80% of his time. And I was the same way. Same way. Tim, yes, all of these forms that you'll see, all of the actual wording and content and everything, you will be able to, once you install the plugin, you have that exact content. All the same questions, all the same content. Like if you were to go to this website discovery page, you would even have this lead-in part here. So you can edit it, make it fit more what your business is all about. That's totally fine. But it'll give you a place to start and you can use it right out of the box.
Yeah, and you can pick and choose what, you don't have to add all those forms. Like you can just pick and choose the ones you want to add really easily. You can even, make custom forms of your own if you want. So if there's something that's not there that maybe you do specifically, you can do that kind of stuff and edit the questions and all that.
Yeah. And, you can always find, for people that are asking for these links and stuff, you can always find any of our products on the website, offlinesharks.com/shop. I mean, we have them all there. If they're closed for any reason or they're not offered anymore, they won't be there. But if you're ever looking to get information on, whatever foot in the door strategies we have out there, software, all that stuff, you can go to the website and you can always find it there. Dave says, do you guys include the LFF pages in your sitemap? Yeah, why not? No reason not to, Dave. I saw somebody asking in the group earlier about not including a sitemap to their website, which I think that's a big no-no if you're trying to get your site indexed with Google, because your sitemap it's basically telling Google, this is the index of my website. This is the table of contents. Without having a table of contents to Google, to their search crawlers, like you're just not giving them vital information. So if you're looking at doing SEO for your own website or your customers, you want to give Google as much data as you possibly can in the format that they want to receive it. That's a big part of doing SEO is, if you have, they have different ways of marking up the information on your website so they know where to find it. Like the name of your business, the address of your business, and the phone number, like that has specific identifying code that you can wrap around that information that lets them know, hey, this is the name and the address of the phone number. And they take that and translate it to all the important ranking factors that make a website relevant for a name, an address, and a phone number. Now, we use tools like, different plugins to help set those, set that information without actually having to wrap it around code. I mean, I've created a video recently actually about 3 different plugins that we use for SEO. So if you have more questions on that, you can go check that out on the YouTube channel. But it's important to give them that information. You know, if you want to rank better, you don't want to hold out on that stuff. And that, yeah, it's called schema, right? Schemas. Ron's talking about schema. It's definitely a rabbit hole that we could geek out on for a couple hours.
Yeah. down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So did you get any new books over the week, Tom?
I am reading a new book right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have lots of books coming in. Here, there you go. What's Tom reading? The one I'm reading right now is by Brendan Bouchard. It's called High Performance Habits: How Extraordinary People Became That Way. I like books like this because it's there's lots of stories about, this book is like him studying a lot of his coaching students and sending out surveys to his massive group of people and really just trying to identify what are really the habits that kind of move the needle the most, right? The ones that anyone could implement, not, that you don't need any special talent for, anything like that. And I found, this book to be really interesting because, there's, for me, and I don't know how it is for you guys, but for me, like this whole entrepreneurial journey and growing businesses has been really a process of becoming, right? Like I've had to put a lot of effort into changing my behaviors and things that I do that really didn't make success easy, right? Like there was a long time that I really wanted to be successful, but the reality was I wasn't doing the actions that produced that tend to produce success, right? So I'm always really interested in reading books and things about how to change my habits, what should, what habits are the ones that I want to be focusing on, right? Like, for a long time, I was not a person that liked to get up early in the morning, right? That was a habit I had to change. More recently, it was, being more health conscious and trying to, treat my body and my well-being better so that I could do more, right? So I could have more energy, get more things done and stuff like that. So, he's really identified in this book 6 habits that he said that high performers really move the needle that anybody can do, right? And, one of them is seek clarity. And this one was like really, really interesting to me when I read this, because one of the things he identified is that a lot of high performers, like when you ask them about what they're going to be like a year from now, 2 years from now, like they have a clearer vision of that than people that don't do well or that struggle, right? Like they have a positive view of where they're going to be down the road. So they may not be there yet, right? But like they're actively taking steps to get there, right? Like they know, they have an idea of the kind of person they want to be, how they want to act in business situations. And that, I know that has been true for me. Like the more I think about that, like, okay, if I'm going to go into a meeting with a client, right? I used to just be like, oh my God, I hope I sell this client and I get the money, right? Now I'm more like, okay, I'm going into this meeting. Like what feelings what do I want? Like, what's the feeling I want this client to have from this meeting? Like, what's the feeling I want to get out of this meeting? Right? Like, how do I want to interact with people? And so that's been, that's something I've been working on for a while to get that shift. And so, yeah, so I think this book is, it's really good. It's just another angle, right? We've talked about some other kind of habit books before, making small changes, stuff like this. But I think this is a good one that gives you a good idea of what are some good ones to focus on, right? They even have a little assessment test you can go do too that kind of gives you some strengths and the weaknesses, but I haven't done that yet. So yeah, so that's what I'm reading right now. High Performance Habits Brendan Bouchard.
How do you read like every single word in a book, or do you skim, or what's your process? Because I know you consume a lot of literature. I mean,
Yeah. So I do have a process. Like, I don't necessarily read every word in a book because you don't have, you don't have time for that. I'm not a speed reader either, but really, like, what I do usually is, I'll take a book and I'll read, the inside cover, the backside cover. I'll look at the table of contents to get an idea of what's going on in the book, right? And then a lot of times what you can do is you can just go and read like the first couple pages of a chapter and then the last few pages of a chapter, and they'll tell you what they're going to talk about in the chapter, and then at the end they'll sum it up, right? And so you can get through a book pretty fast that way. And then also, when I'm reading, I have a pencil, right? And so, or little like post-it sticky things that I can put on stuff. So I may look through a table of contents and be like, oh man, I want to look at this. I want to make sure I read this part. This seems to apply to what I'm doing. And then I'll do it that way. So I want to, in the beginning, just get a general idea of what the book is about, right? And what they're talking about. And a lot of times I don't have to read every single word. Some books I do, if they're, depending on what it is, right? But there was actually this philosopher guy, and he had a book called How to Read a Book. And I got a lot of good tactics out of that, because like most people just kind of read and move on. And really what you want to do is like active reading, like making notes, that kind of stuff, thinking about, okay, well, how does this apply to what I'm doing, right? And really being like realistic with yourself, like especially when I read books about habits, like I have to be really honest with myself about what am I actually doing, right? Like for a long time, I wasn't very honest with myself. Like I'd say, oh yeah, I'm trying to be successful. Oh yeah, I want to do that stuff, but I wasn't doing the things you needed to do. So I become more and more convinced as time has gone on that if you want those things, if you want to be successful, you have to be the type of person that does those things that makes people successful, right? And it can be a long, slow, grinding process. Like a lot of times you just feel like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere, but then one day you look back and you're like, oh wow, man, I've come like a pretty long way, like this is pretty drastically different from where I was, 5 years ago. So I think
I was going to say, and just so everybody knows, Tom has a lot of books in the backdrop behind him, but I was at his office yesterday and he probably has 3 times as many around him. Like he's sitting in a freaking library right now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of that too is like the balance. Like I go through spurts of looking at a lot of different things, and towards the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and a lot of it's based on what we're trying to do, right? Like what I'm trying to do in my agency, what we're trying to do with Offline Sharks, like just trying to get a broader view of, okay, what are other people doing? Like maybe we can use some of that stuff, maybe we can't. But the thing that I have to guard against is, although I'm looking at a lot of this stuff and trying to get upright, like I still need to be taking action, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I don't read a book for a few weeks because I'm taking action, that's okay, right? Like I need to keep that kind of focus. So for a long time, that was a hard thing for me. Like I wanted to learn, and I wasn't really doing anything, right? Now I'm more about like, let's just do it. And then we can look at that stuff later, and kind of apply it to what we're doing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that happen, like it's easy to get caught in, having something like a book, like pique your interest, and then like liking that so much that you're constantly in the search or constantly in the chase, but you're not so much in the action of like, you need to be able to, like you said, take that information and put it into play. And I think a lot of books are probably, I don't know, 60 to 70% fluff. You know, there's like the real meat of the book. And like you said, you have a process of finding out, you know, what that meat is. Like you read the beginning, you read the end, you can go to the middle, you can probably find a good section of it. You know, you don't necessarily need to read the whole thing. Some books just catch your attention and you like the story and you want to read the whole thing. And I do that as well. But I'm with you. I think a lot of successful people, like their a skill that I see is like their ability to consume information and take action on it, whether it's books or blog posts or podcasts or, you know, it's usually all of the above. You know, for me, it's reading books. It's also, I mean, not only am I reading books, but I'm basically reading all day, every day when I sit in front of my computer screen, right? Like when it's blog posts or whatever. But I also listen to a lot of books too. I found that, and a lot of people know this, but maybe some don't, but like having like audio podcasts or audio books, I mean, it's weird because it's like this like be synchronous way to like get more information while you're doing something else. Like I can wash my truck while listening to a podcast, so I can like still be getting information. I can still keep it going, you know, my precious.
Yeah. Well, and you know, there are two things here. One, and I want to make a point. So Tim Johnson said he's rereading Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And it's funny you mentioned that, Tim, because I just reread the first 3 chapters, which a lot of direct marketers say are like those are the 3 chapters you really need to understand, the first 3, where he talks about, you know, it's basically like their level of awareness is one of them. And I forget what the first one is. I just reread it though. But one of the things I've noticed is like the first time I read Breakthrough Advertising, like I just read it, right? And it's like you kind of nod your head like, okay, yeah, that all sounds good. But now that I've been doing stuff like that, we've been implementing and taking action. Now, when I went back to read it, it was like, holy crap, this is really good, because I started to see, like, I saw how it applied to what I'd been trying to do. And I realized what, like, things that didn't make sense before all of a sudden made sense, because I'm like, I see why that's important. Like, okay, that's why the thing we didn't work out, was because we didn't really follow this point, you know? And so I think I think the real big advantage is when you're taking action and continuing to learn, because those two things kind of feed off each other, right? And so yeah, that's a good one. I saw Cameron had a really good point too that I didn't mention, which is about, you know, when you're trying to learn a new subject, like I'll get a bunch of different books, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 books on one subject, and you just kind of go do that process that I talked about, and all of a sudden you know a lot about the subject, and you also realize that most books on that subject are like 90% the same. Like it's the same information. And so, you know, just going through a few books and then, you know, getting the gist of what it is, you're like, okay, I have a basic understanding of it, right? Now, if you start implementing on those things, you get an even better understanding of it. And then, you know, trying to show other people all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's funny is I don't know if you saw this comment, but Jeff said that he spoke to you years ago when you were both in Bob Ross's 9x12. You took action. You went to the next training.
Yeah, man, you know, that going through that whole process was an eye-opening thing for me. Like, I remember when I did that first card and I had success, and then I started doing it. Like, if I talk to people, it's like, I was like, action, action, action. It's all about action, action, action. Like, you need to be taking like, because it was it changed my life, right? It was really the first time that I actually took a lot of massive action. And, you know, I wasn't the best at sustaining it. Like, I've had to work on that, but it was like, it just really solidified in my head, because it was like, oh yeah, you go out and you do this and it works, right? Like, and two, the other part of it was I really saw how so many people, and this is kind of what we talk about, doing the things that you need to do to be successful. Like that 9x12 card, right? So the first one I did, I filled it up in 7 days and I made just under $4,000 in profit, right? In profit. That's a really short time to make $4,000. I mean, it was for me. It was the most money I'd ever made in 7 days, right? But what did I have to do that? Like, I walked into businesses. I got in my car every morning. I prospected every day. Like, I called businesses. I did all the things that people don't want to do, right? And so, and it worked. So when people come to me and be like, I really need to make some money fast. What would you do, Tom, if you needed to make money fast? Like, well, I would do that card. I'd say, well, this is what I did. And I'd tell them, and then I'd always get the email back. Yeah, but I'd rather not talk to anybody. Like, do you have something that doesn't like involve me having to deal with people? It's like, you got to make that decision. What is it that you want, right? Do you want the results, or, how's that going to work? And when you have a digital agency, it's going to be very hard to grow a big agency and not deal with people. Even if you're doing all your prospecting remotely, like, you still are going to need to talk to clients and interact with them and learn how to be better at that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I actually was answering this question in the Facebook group, I think last night. Somebody was asking about what their favorite, or asking the group, what is your favorite foot in the door service to offer? And, I have a lot. We have a lot of great foot in the door strategies. As everybody knows, anytime we have something that's working within our businesses, that's when we create training and products and offline sharks on something that we have success with. So those are all of our favorite foot in the door strategies, right? You all are familiar with a lot of them. So what I would say to anybody that's like looking for a good foot in the door strategy is to obviously make sure your information is coming from somebody that's doing it. That's an important piece, right? Don't just take somebody's foot in the door strategy for the sake of a good topic. But also you want to pick one that the best one is going to be the one that you will do consistently. So you want to be able to pick a topic that's something that you're slightly interested in, I want to say, but one that, like, if you absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt in your mind that you hate SEO, then why would you go and choose SEO as your foot in the door strategy? Like, why would you choose anything on that topic? Like, don't do that. Don't let somebody tell you that you should, don't get caught up in some marketing that tells you that, this is what you should do and you hate it, because you're going to lose interest, but if there's something out there that you are interested in, that is the one that you're likely going to be most successful with, because you're going to do what Tom did. You're going to take the most action on that service, right?
Yeah. And I think your situation has to do with it too. And like, I just think that question of what would you do if you had to start over is just, it's not, I don't know. I go back and forth about that question, because it's like, I don't think I could have done anything different than what I did and what I had to go through, like I needed to do all that stuff, and it was hard and it didn't always work out. And I failed a lot, but I just kept moving forward, and, so now it's like when people ask me, I need to make money now, what do you want to do? It's like, I just tell them, I don't think you're going to like my answer. Because like, yeah, like maybe, and maybe that's the best thing. Like if you're in, and sometimes we get in such a bad situation that there's really nothing that you're going to be able to do in a short amount of time that's going to fix that. Right. Like sometimes we just have to face that reality. And that even happened to me with the card, because I had really good success with it at first. And then I did a horrible job of managing my business, terrible job of managing my business. And I got into a really bad situation, and I had to come to the realization, like, okay, this isn't where I can't keep this up. This isn't working. And I just had to stop doing what I was doing. I even had a card that I was going to send out. I had them printed, but I didn't have the money to send it out, to mail them. So I had to go to all those business owners and
you went in the envelope.
What's that?
You got into the envelope.
Yeah.
Didn't you collect the money and put it all in the envelope, and then that was for the shipping?
Yeah. So yeah. Well, this is what I was. So here's the bad thing that I was doing. Okay. Because the card
Pay attention, everybody.
It made okay money. It makes good like money coming in, but it wasn't enough for me to live on at the time. And so I was making less money than I needed to make. So what I was doing is I would do a card, and I would need to use that money to pay bills because I was in such a bad situation. And then I would have to do a new card to pay for the card that I used the money from. So I was like rolling them one after the other, right? So the new card, I'd collect money and I'd use it to print and mail the card before. And then it was just super stressful. It was really not good. So what I had to do was I had these 10,000 cards that came back from the printer, and I didn't have the money to mail them. So I just called all those businesses and told them, hey, I don't have the money to do this. I'm sorry. I was like, let's work out a payment plan. I repaid them all the money that they put in. And what I did was I started going to people that had been on pass cards that obviously weren't on that card. And I started doing more digital marketing services for them, things that would just bring cash flow in that I didn't have to put any money out for. Right. And then once I had some clients going that way and I had some cash flow coming in, then I started doing the mailers again. And then I was successful with them because I wasn't using them to pay my bills. Right. And, so I mean, that's kind of an embarrassing situation. So one time, so I don't know if Nick remembers this, but so when all this happened and I'm like, I got to pay these people back the money, there was one place, and I called Nick, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way to give this guy his money back for advertising on this card." And I was like, "I think this is what I'm going to do. If I get there and he's not there, I'm just going to take that as a sign that I'm not supposed to do this, right? Like it was just a bad business deal and just move on." So I drive into Wailuku, and when I pull up in front of this guy's restaurant, he's like sitting on a picnic table out in front of the restaurant. So I was like, oh man.
I was hoping you weren't going to be there.
Yeah. So anyway, so I went up and I told him what happened and gave him his money back. And it was a really humbling and a huge learning experience for me. And like, I realized like, okay, I got to get serious about how I manage my business, how I manage my cash flow. Like I need to do this the right way. Right. So then I started looking at, well, how do successful people manage their business and how can I keep this from happening again? And it allowed me to readjust the services I was offering, the pricing I was doing, all those things. Right. And then I was able to bring that mailer back into the fold and just use it in the best way I could, which was as a foot in the door. It was just a great way to start a relationship with businesses, and I wasn't relying on it to pay the bills and all that stuff. And then it was great. So if you're messing up, don't, just fix it. Right. Sometimes you just got to put your foot down and be like, this is a crappy situation. I don't feel good about it. Like I need to change it and keep moving forward. And now, all of those people that I pay back, I have a good relationship with them. One of them was even like, well, whenever you start to do it again, call me. I'll advertise on it again. Like, this is really like, this says a lot about you as a business person that you would even come here and do this. Cause they just, they probably never would have known, so yeah.
And I think that that brings us to our cliffhanger for the day. We got about 5 minutes left, but I think for 2020, right, one of the most important things that I found to be helpful for me is to, and this is on topic for what Tom was just talking about, because you can only get this through experience. And the experience that I'm talking about is knowing what not to do. Like if you can figure out what not to do, like how to like not flip what you were doing with the clients and the card and the mailer and all that. And you can just have the exact list of things that you need to do that you should do, right? Those are the things that you want to be doing. And that's actually what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. We actually shot a video for everybody, all the offline sharks. Keep an eye on your email. We're going to be sending out the email. We have a little training series. We shot a couple of videos. I'm editing the the final one now. That should be ready in a couple of days. But basically, over the next couple of days, keep your eye out in your email because we're going to be sending something special to you every single day for the next couple of days.
Yeah, well, and it's all about what we were just talking about, like that whole, like, I didn't know how to build a business in the right way, and so really what I was doing was just operating kind of like a freelancer. I had no structure in place, and because I didn't know any better, right? And so now I know better, and so that's one of the things we're talking about in the videos is, how do you do that? How do you build an actual business? Like, you need a business, right? A business is something where you can scale it, you can get new clients, you don't have to worry about it it runs kind of in the background. And so you guys will really like that video series.
Yeah. So thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We just hit the top of the hour, coming up in just a few minutes. So if you have any questions on anything we talked about during this live stream, let us know in the comments below the video. And keep an eye out in your email inbox tomorrow. We're going to release our little training series.
Yeah, you guys are going to love it. Yeah. And sorry again, I was late, but I made it. And thanks you guys for taking time out of your Friday to join us. We really appreciate it. I'm glad everybody had a safe and happy new year.
Chantel says add her to the email list. We'll do that, Chantel. All right, everybody. Have a nice weekend, and we will see you all soon. Take care.
Yeah, awesome. Aloha, everybody.